Having served in Afghanistan, Saveli Govorkov returned to his homeland and found himself involved in a particularly troublesome story. As a result, he ended up in prison. When he was taken to the detention facility, rumors had already spread about him. Due to his harsh temper and combat skills acquired on duty, Govorkov was nicknamed the Beast. In the detention facility, Saveli was recalling his childhood. Back then, boys tried to drag him into a fight, but he adamantly refused to respond. Having grown up, Govorkov changed his principles. Now, he willingly responded with force if people got insolent. It happened on his first day in prison. When he came out of the baths with other prisoners, a convict nicknamed Arshin tried to take his shoes. Saveli asked him politely to put his boots back, but Arshin did not seem to understand. He told his sidekick named Gopher to deal with the newcomer, but Govorkov quickly disarmed Gopher and then punched the rest of Arshin's buddies. The fight was interrupted, and Arshin was sent to the punishment cell. Govorkov was also about to be transferred there, but he didn't care. He recalled his training before he was sent to Afghanistan. Then a hand-to-hand combat instructor showed him how to knock out opponents. He wanted to teach Saveli a lesson and challenged him to a fight, but Govorkov turned out to be a worthy opponent. Despite this, the instructor still laid him on the floor. Govorkov managed to avoid the punishment. When he came to the barracks, he was sent to a head storekeeper named Volodya. He informed him that Arshin would not simply forget their clash, he would definitely take revenge. Before going to bed, Sava recalled how he had first met Larisa. Alec and his gang liked to spend time on the ship where he worked at that time. Larisa belonged to him. She was pretty and smart, and fell for Saveli straight away. He reminded her of her brother. Govorkov's former co-worker, Viktor Varlamov, was also on Alik's team. Seeing him, Sava was overjoyed because they had not talked to each other since demobilization. Their former instructor arranged for Varlamov to join Alik. Now Viktor worked as a security guard. Having met Govorkov, Larisa wanted him to be her guard. She demanded from Alec that he hire Saveli for the job. Varlamov brought his friend to the boss, and he offered a substantial sum of money simply for the fact that Sava would always be near Larisa. However, Govorkov refused. He was satisfied with his job at the time and didn't intend to serve some merchant. Having finished his shift at the sawmill, Saveli went outside, where he was stopped by Mityai. He informed him that Arshin wanted to sort things out. Mityai also said that Govorkov was likely to be killed, and that had better go to the king for help. He is a very respected man in prison, and if he takes Govorkov under his protection, no one will hurt him. Sava thanked Mityai for his help and left. The next day, Mityai's skull was broken, but he survived and was now recovering in the hospital. Govorkov realized that he was punished for helping him. The captain of the colony guard also learned of the upcoming squabble with Arshin. He guessed that it was not Govorkov's fault that he had gotten into prison, so he wanted to help him. This time, the captain sent Saveli to the punishment cell under a far-fetched pretext. There Govorkov could sit it out, and he would not have to deal with Arshin. Here, Saveli met an old convict, who was so used to being in jail that he couldn't get used to being free. He came back here on purpose because everything was familiar and understandable to him, and while the old man told his story, Govorkov remembered his own life. One day, he met Larisa on the deck. She was crying, and Sava tried to calm her down. As a result, Larisa convinced him to get a job with her as a guard. Govorkov came to Alec with this request, and he agreed to hire him. From that day, Saveli turned into a personal babysitter for Larisa. When Govorkov returned from the punishment cell, his bunkmate said that since he did not come to the beef with Arshin, he himself would come after the lights went out, and so it happened. Arshin brought his friends with him. They wanted to kill Govorkov while he was asleep, but Sava was not asleep in the least. When they surrounded him, he jumped up and killed everyone who came after him. Then the king showed up and took Saveli with him. He said that he liked Govorkov as a man and would protect him. As long as the king is in prison, no one will touch Sava. After that, Govorkov gets a message that someone out of prison wants to take him down. This was specifically reported to prison, and Sava has an idea who the person determined to kill him. For fighting, Govorkov was sent to a cell with the tough criminals. They tried to put him in his place, but Saveli stood up for himself. Then one of the thugs talked to him. He made it clear that when the king leaves prison, Govorkov will have a hard time. He is disliked by many people here, including this thug. However, Saveli is used to living in such conditions. When he worked for Alec and looked after Larisa, she behaved quite relaxed and flirted with foreigners when Alec had meetings with them. Alec did not like it, and on such days, he got drunk and then went to Larisa to sort things out. Govorkov liked Larisa, and one night, she even came to his bed with the excuse that she could not sleep in her room. Then she invited him for a walk, and when they returned, Larisa ran off to meet some professor who was helping her study Korean. Govorkov contacted Alec, and the latter said that Larisa was allowed to go off to Korean without security. She did not return until late at night. Soon after that, she invited Sava to a movie. During the movie, she goes to the bathroom, asks Govorkov to wait for her in the hall, and escapes. Alec left Sava at home to wait for Larisa and went to look for her together with Varlamov. Govorkov remembered this incident when he was summoned to the captain to testify about Varlamov, but Saveli did not say a word. He was not going to share anything that concerned his battle buddy. After that, he had a dream that he was escaping from the colony, but was shot at by guards from a tower at the fence. When Govorkov woke up, he was taken to the captain. He tried to figure out why Saveli ended up in prison. Officially, he was sent here because of illegal currency transactions. But the captain didn't believe that was true. He thought that Saveli was afraid of Varlamov, and that's why he refused to testify. Now, there was nothing to be afraid of because Varlamov had been killed, and the captain showed Govorkov his photos. Saveli was shocked to see the corpse of his friend. He remembered how Vitya told him about his first murder. Then he had defended Alik and had to finish the man off. Alik could get him out of jail, but he gave no guarantees, and Varlamov was afraid that he would be sent to prison. Victor tells his friend that Alec is just a henchman. Larisa connects him with the boss, and in fact, Alec does not have a say in the matter. When Larisa escaped, Alec gave Govorkov a task, to meet the man and take him where he says. The next day, Larisa's friend, a foreign correspondent, showed up at his door. He came to get her things and brought a letter for Sava. Larisa reported that she was going to start a new life with a foreigner, and Alik should forget about her. Govorkov looked at the correspondent's documents and found out his address. Then he went on Alik's assignment. He had to transport a man named Vladimir Andreevich with a large sum of money. On the way, they were squeezed by cars. Sava got out of the situation and delivered the passenger to the address. It was a sort of test. After this incident, Alec entrusted Govorkov with 100,000. He demanded to take them to Leningrad, but Sava did something else. He took the suitcase with the money, left, and then called Alik. He demanded that he would guarantee Varlamov's freedom. Only in this case, Sava would return the money. Alec promised that he would think about this proposal. Leaving the captain, Govorkov saw the king leaving for freedom. Now Saveli was left on his own, and he could be killed at any moment. He was told that 2 guys had deliberately gotten into prison to finish him off. Govorkov went to the sawmill on the night shift. He realized that he could be killed here, but also realized that it could happen at any moment, which meant that he should not delay the confrontation. When all the workers had left, a knife was thrown at Sava, but he dodged it. When he went after the attacker, his accomplice Danilin threw logs at him. Having decided that Govorkov was dead, the killers fled. They decided to hide in a wagon with wood chips, which were produced in prison. That's where Saveli jumped in. Danilin and Ugriumi buried themselves in the wood chips, but when the wagon was released from the colony, its contents were checked with special metal poles. The guards did not find the fugitives, but Ugriumi was wounded. When all 3 of them got to the surface, Danilin wanted to kill his accomplice, but Saveli did not let him. Danilin told them to jump off the bridge. Govorkov advised to jump when the wagon was in the middle. That was the deepest place. However, Danilin did not listen to him and jump it into shallow water. Govorkov pulled Ugriumi to the shore, and they took flight. Saveli treated his wound and carried him on his back. Finally, Ugriumi realized that Sava would not leave him and told him that a boat with supplies and medicine was hidden near the bridge. After a while, Ugriumi died. Before his death, he said that Govorkov was ordered by a man nicknamed the Korean. Soldiers were sent on the tracks of the fugitives. They found Danilin's corpse and the clothes of Govorkov and Ugriumi. They also found supplies along with the boat. Despite their best efforts, the prison guards and the police let Saveli get away. He set out for revenge because the last time he saw Alik and Larisa, it ended badly. Then Sava brought Larisa home, where Alik was waiting for them. He distracted Govorkov, and his men grabbed Larisa. Saveli was knocked out and tied up. Then Alik called an acquaintance from the authorities and handed over Govorkov. Alik got his money back, and Saveli took the blame for keeping Varlamov and Larisa alive. After arriving in Moscow, Govorkov took the car from the cab driver and went to Alik. He crushed his Volga and forced him to tell him where the Korean was now. Police officers were following Govorkov's footsteps at that moment. When he came to the Korean, Saveli realized that this nickname was that of his old acquaintance, Vladimir Andreevich. The Korean tried to pay off Govorkov to keep him alive, but Sava first wanted to find out where Larisa was being held. When he and Korean went outside, the bandits' guards arrived, and Sava had to flee. The head of the Koreans' guards was a hand-to-hand combat instructor who trained Govorkov. When he caught up with Sava, they fought, and Govorkov defeated him. The enemy fell into the water from a great height and never resurfaced. The Korean also died. He grabbed the rails as the electricity was turned on in the building where Saveli came from. The rails were electrified and it killed him. Having dealt with his enemies, Govorkov went to the psychiatric hospital, where Korean and Alec sent Larisa. Saveli hugged her, and she realized that everything would be all right from now on.